Everybody needs to have it.
It is 9:58, it's 10 o'clock, September 7th, 2021. Call the Tax Planning and Zoning Committee to order. Amanda, would you call the roll, please?
Zumwalt.
Present.
Curtis.
Yes.
Awful. Here. Bard.
Here. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Has everyone had a chance to review the claims and go over them? Are there any questions or is there any discussion? Do I hear a motion to approve the claims as presented?
I'll make the motion.
And a second. Amanda, would you call the roll, please?
Zumwalt.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Awful.
Yes.
Bard.
Yes. Are there any public comments? Is he gonna? Reports from the departments. Mrs. Suber.
Roger, you always pick on me first, but that's okay.
Well, it's got in the habit.
We don't have anything new going on in the office. We're still working on the purge that takes months to finish up. We are also still working on the referenda that are going to appear, well, that should appear on the ballot at the next election to get our township and range voters separated so we get their coding right on their ballots. And then we're also still working on documents and any kind of records that we have stored that can go on our records disposal certificate to make more room in our storeroom to add more documents and records.
Okay,
So nothing new though.
okay, thank you, Mrs. Suber. Mr. Albers,
Well,
you
today is,
seem to be kind of busy over there today.
yeah, we are, well, today is the last, second installment taxes are due today, so that's what we're working on today. And then after that, whoever doesn't pay, we'll be doing publications, and then, mailing out registered letters, because our tax sale will be October 25th, I do believe. That's all I have.
Set. Mr. Yergler?
Assessment is just working on 21, and that's going forward as we speak, so working on that. And Danielle is back from her maternity leave today, so we're back to full staff, so that's good. Other than that, pretty quiet, actually. Yeah, after the first rush from first installment, it was pretty quiet after that. So as far as handling most of it during the first installment, so it hasn't been too bad.
Okay. Then the planning and zoning office report.
The rates are down considerably. I assume that's a repercussion of high material costs. And I think a lot of the builders are behind anyway. So they weren't booking any new jobs for a while, so you see revenues were comparable to 20, but nothing spectacular. Then our normal inspections, claims for that. And next month, you'll have two hearing requests for variances. One will be a conditional use for selling retail beef out of a private location in the rural area of rural Sheldon Township. And you also have a rezoning hearing for a property under a rezoning plus a variance for acreage up on the north edge of village of Clifton. So those should be, I wouldn't see why either one would be a big issue, but we got ZBA hearing at the end of September for those, and then so your committee meeting in October will have those two before you. So other than that, that's that way too. So
Been no solar requests?
I haven't had anybody inquire recently at all. So we have that one company called, we've been looking in between Gilman and Crescent, but they even admitted they're years out because they're starting their due diligence stuff.
Surprised you didn't hear anything more from that one down by Buckley.
I've not heard nothing, but they've got pretty much, I think they're at the stage where they're either going to apply or they're not. I'm guessing all of a sudden I'll get a huge FedEx or UPS with a bunch of stuff in it saying, here's our application. I think that's where they were at, those, with the finalization of the solar ordinance. So they were, and so I would not be surprised in the next 2 months we would get an actual application, but I can't say for sure, I don't know. I haven't heard from them at all, but I think they were past the preliminary stuff. They'd already signed stuff, I think, with landowners in that area, so they were just waiting to do their due diligence on their end before they made their application to the county. But haven't heard nothing from them either, so.
Yeah.
But this other company between Gilman and Crescent, they were just in the preliminary stages. They were just getting started. That's all I've heard from any solar as of right now. So,
Have you heard anything from around the state in general as far as applications for solar farms in other counties?
some are doing it, some aren't, there's some applications out there. I haven't heard any major ones. A lot of people are waiting to see what happens legislatively between the energy industry and the state. Once that's finalized, if that legislation ever is finalized, then because they're trying to work out something with the nuclear power system to transition away from that if they can. But they obviously got to be, they don't want a Texas on their hands. But dumber things have happened.
Okay.
So that's it.
Discussion on building permit enforcement fines and penalties. I've talked with Mr. Yergler and we're tabling that till next month.
But just a note on that, I've talked to Jeff Meyer in more depth about it recently, so once it slows down a little bit this fall, he said we're gonna get together. So
Okay, fine. Check with you next month.
Jeff will be next month. It's not going away, so.
Okay, I know where to find you. Discussion on resolution opposing the expansion of the Kankakee National Wildlife Refuge and Conservation Area by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. As you may recall, Mr. Zumo brought this up in new business at last month's meeting. So, Mr. Zumo, would you bring us up to date? And
Well, I wanted to make a couple of comments. I mean, the initial thought is that, it sounds like it's a really warm and fuzzy thing to protect the deer and the rabbits and the squirrels. But the reality of it all is a much different part of what can happen, as we've seen in other parts of the state. will affect the drainage on the farmland next to it, loss of tax revenue, and the loss of control by local townships to maintain roads and bridges and things. And what we've seen in other parts of the state, again, is that even just a simple thing to replace a road culvert that's collapsed, it's a 2-day job normally, but since it's maybe next to a refuge, they can block it and of course they say they'll adhere to drainage laws, but suddenly you don't hear back from them, and it turns into a 5-year process just for a simple thing and to replace that. So the intended footprint for this refuge is 28 square miles in Kankakee, but still there's 6 square miles in Iroquois County in the northeast part that are of issue. It's in their footprint. And pretty much they want this area to revert back to a natural state like before the area was settled, by man. So, and final thought is that, farmers are excellent stewards of the environment, and the acquisition of property by a federal agency and an attempt to manage our local resources is really not needed or wanted. So it's kind of getting jammed down our throats whether we want it or not. It's never been on a ballot issue or anything like that. So I felt it was good to bring this resolution opposing the refuge, and so that Iroquois County can make a statement of where we're at, our position.
Total agreement with you on that one. Talked about all that a while back.
Have you all had a chance to read the resolution? I know it was sent out, emailed out. Any discussion? Mr. Chairman,
I have a few comments.
floor is yours.
On the first page, the third paragraph from the bottom, it says, whereas the Kankakee River Basin and Yellow River Basin Development Commission strongly urge. In my view, that's good. I don't know if you have any documentation on that. If you do, and I would suggest it might be included as an exhibit along with the resolution. But also I would suggest including in the wording in that paragraph that it refers to the Kankakee River specifically, or the Kankakee River and its tributaries. Maybe would be even better. And then on the second page, the first paragraph where that says, now therefore be it resolved. The big question I have with that is that by including that entire paragraph, are you saying that if these things are done, then there won't be any objections to the project? That was kind of the thought that had entered my mind as soon as I read that paragraph. You're asking them to do a whole bunch of things. So are you saying if they do them, are you going to drop your objection to the project?
Well, I think we kind of want just more clarification from the Forest Fish and Wildlife as far as what they're going to do. They keep giving us vague answers on things, and we just kind of like to.
Well, I guess to me, if you're sending it to the Fish and Wildlife Service, so you ought to make it very clear that even if they did those things, you're still opposed.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I wouldn't even include that paragraph in the resolution.
Well, we want to try to send as strong a message as we can that we're not in favor of this.
If you do include it in there, I think there's a couple comments that I would make about it. And one is, you say in the very first sentence, the County Board of Iroquois County. And down below in the beginning of the next paragraph, you say the Iroquois County Board. Which minor point, but maybe the wording ought to be consistently, it's either the County Board of Iroquois County or the Iroquois County Board.
Yeah, we could change that.
And then going back up to that other paragraph, I would also say at the last phrase, you say that it completes an environmental impact. I would say that it shall complete an environmental impact.
Mhm.
It shall is a lot stronger,
Yes.
and I would recommend that. The other comments that I had was, should we be asking the Kankakee County Board Chairman for his comments on this resolution?
Yes. Kind of want everybody on board.
And then, is there anybody else that we should send it to besides the people that you have listed there? Such as the Speaker of the House, the Senate President, the Chief of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, or anyone else that we can think of.
I'm missing a page. Not that I can.
The Governor of Illinois, Bob Yergler, whoever you want to send it to.
Sure.
I'm just asking the question to make sure that we feel like that we're touching all the bases.
Okay.
Because this is a pretty important thing. I also have some information that you might want to also attach as an exhibit. Dated July 30th of this year, I got a report from the Isaac Walton League on the soil health report for the Kankakee River. You might wish to include a copy of that along with this,
Mhm.
because it identifies a lot of things that are very important in maintaining the health of that. It talks about the value of maintaining good soil, cover crops and those kinds of things that play a big role in flood matters. These are all things that this kind of thing here is gonna change drastically. So I have a copy of that. If you wanna include that as an exhibit, we can certainly make that available.
Yeah, yeah.
I did find in researching on this a little bit, some reports too that go back a number of years that talk about when that area was used. Before, it was a horse thieves hideout at one time, and was an area where there were apparently a lot of hunting that went on, a lot of revenue that was derived from the hunting in that area when it was a marsh. So I don't know how some of those things play into it, but to me, the biggest thing that might be this report from the Isaac Walton League.
Yes. Okay.
That's what I got.
Well, maybe we could, make these changes and move forward.
Table this until the next meeting and make changes.
I'd like to see us get something going pretty quick here. I don't think we want to delay too much with this.
I would like to see
Maybe
it.
Mr. Crease would like to make a couple comments too.
If I could, I can never find anything on my phone when I'm looking for an email, but we do have documentation of where the Yellow River, that basin has filed comments that were included in your resolution.
I'm a member of that organization, and I'm not aware that we passed anything recently in that regard.
I'm not for sure what the timing was, but a letter was sent
Okay.
with those comments.
It wasn't at our last meeting, it was at the meeting before that, I think was that in July when we went over there? When Andy
That
Weaver
probably would
June,
gave
like
his-
the end of June.
talked
probably
about this.
dated after June.
Well, that's when I went to.
Angel and I were at a meeting over there, I thought it was in July. The last meeting they had, I attended that on Zoom, but the one before I was in person.
And then as far as the entities that need to receive the resolution, could be quite a bit more too as well. The point about resolving these issues, that if they do search out and acquire more ground, is kind of like playing both sides. We're against it, but yet if you do acquire ground, we want you to at least do some of these activities.
I understand that, but I think it
But I
needs
see
to be
your
more
point, too.
clearly stated that there isn't any misunderstanding.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Have there been any recent meetings with the U.S. Fish?
not recently.
I know there was past, obviously, but keeps reoccurring. Would be beneficial too.
Probably not at this point. They have had an open house and some people have attended it and some things, but there's not been like an official meeting.
Have you talked to Peter, or the Kankakee County chairman, and how does he feel about it and the board?
Well, there's resolution that speaks for itself.
Oh, they have a resolution, do they? Yeah.
They passed an original resolution and they, about 4 years ago, and then they just reaffirmed it in 2021. What
Okay.
they usually do.
You may want to attach that as an exhibit onto ours also. I mean, depends on what you want to do, but
Yeah.
the more exhibits you can attach, the more evidence to back up our feelings may help you. I mean, really what I think you need to do is to get our two senators, Durbin and Duckworth, off their butt.
Yes,
And I think the project will be taken care of.
yes.
So I'm not sure I can tell you what it's gonna take to do that, but, I mean, that, to me, should be the goal.
Mhm. Yeah, they're the most ones that would hold the purse strings on this thing, you know, and have the most clout.
I mean, our two representatives in the House probably would help, but to me, the senators are the ones that are most important. But all four of them really would be what we wanna get going, so, you know, it's gonna take a concerted effort. I actually was with Chairman Wheeler on last Thursday, but we didn't talk about this particular thing, so. Not hard to do, though. Get them on the telephone anytime you want.
I noticed that.
And he'll have something to say about it.
But I mean, you know, we have all those opportunities to include with this, if you so desire. I mean, I think we should, but it's up to the committee to decide what, you know, of these things that I mentioned or anyone else, what you wanna do with it.
Right.
My recommendation would be to get it done today, so it comes before the board next week.
Yes, yeah. So can we pass this preliminary, you know, with a few changes to be finalized at the board? Or
Why can't you finalize it now?
that'd be fine with me. So,
That way the county clerk will take it and print it out and have it it'll be there for the whole board.
but we'll just maybe add some attachments to it.
I don't know that there's anything in writing that the Kankakee River, Yellow River Basin Commission has put together, but we can find that out pretty quick.
I think I have a copy of that. Nope. Did we get a copy?
I can never find one looking for it.
Yeah, I think I saw something that, you know, statement, resolution.
Like I said, we can contact the director, Scott Pellis, that's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
But I just don't recall that they passed anything at any of their meetings, you know, affirming that, so. But doesn't mean I might not have missed it or whatever.
Sometimes they do that and then they approve it at the next meeting, right?
The comment period was gonna end, I think, in between your meetings.
Yeah.
But like I said, I would like to see us get it done today.
Sure.
If we can, because I think, I'm not sure what the timeline is on this whole thing, but I know Chairman Wheeler is pretty vocal about it right now, wanting to get something done.
Yes.
So I think we're, like you said, we have 6 square miles, that's pretty significant, but he's got a lot more, and I think we want to support him and the two counties work together on it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, can I make the motion to approve it?
As is.
And then we'll add, some appendages to it
We need to approve it first, though.
Yeah.
before we do that. Okay. Second.
That would be approve the basic thing that we have that with the additions and
Right.
things that John has mentioned
Yes.
and attachments and change the wording.
Second.
Is that okay with?
That's fine with me, as long as someone gives me those changes, we can get it typed in there and, yeah, we can get that done.
We can probably get together right after the meeting, and get the exact wording for you.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
Did you second it, Barb? Would you call the roll, please?
Zumwalt,
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Awful.
Yes.
Barb.
Yes. Discussion and action on publication of rural homesteads. Mrs. Crawford, the
Well, I did have a chance to talk with you around the end of August. And obviously, this is something that we want to be able to convey to residents that want to move to Iroquois County, and one way of doing that would be through updating our website with that information, but also getting, in the short term, some of the things that we could work on would be doing a local advertisement and working through other agencies locally to let people know, first of all, people that own the ground, that this is something that it's an alternative for them. There's no pressure, but if they determine that that's something that they want to do with their ground, then this is an option for them. Obviously, right at this point, I need to have more discussions with you and Chairman Scher and Mom to really just nail this down. But I think eventually making that part of the IDA website and put it on a county board, once we determine whatever the wordage is, that would be a good thing to feature. And would actually work for too, families wanting to create sustainable farms, specialty crops, especially businesses or remote working. So people that have the ability to work remotely, that want to move to the area, that's a good option for them.
anyone else have anything to say? To add?
We still have more work to do on it.
Yeah. Got quite a bit more. Resolution approving the sale of property acquired through the delinquent tax program.
Okay, so you all were provided the monthly resolution list. The parcels that show up on this list are the parcels that were sold at the sealed bid auction that the trustee held back in, was it the end of August? End of July. So these are all parcels that were bid on successfully and are ready to be approved. If you look at each one, John, like you always ask, where's everything located? Those are handwritten in there as far as where the parcels are located. There were several that were sold above the minimum $807 bid. The total that's coming to the county for the sale or auction is the $12,293.50. But anyway, there's 12 separate resolutions to approve the sale of those parcels.
Any discussion?
I'll make the motion to approve these sale, these few parcels.
Is there a second? Mr. Curtis, would you call the roll, please, Amanda?
Zumwalt,
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Awful. Barb.
Yes. Any old business? Any new business? Entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Mrs. Alto, Mr. Zumwalt, seconds. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.